22.6, I'm Rick Goddard. This is ABC Radio Hobart. What's the difference between a land surveyor and a building surveyor? Lee Tyers for Tradie Tuesday. Into the world of building surveying we trot. G'day, Lee.
Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Yeah, good. What's the difference?
Look, Rick, it's a misunderstanding. Most people think building surveyors are, in fact, land surveyors. The building surveyor is actually there to help people with their building approval processes. So similar to what councils did, they were actually helping people get approvals and then helping builders along the way during the construction phase and then eventually getting an occupancy permit so they can use their building. Where land surveyors are more actually help setting out property boundaries and doing cadastral surveys and bits and pieces like that.
Okay, so you're sort of making sure that the building is going to fit the rules and as it's getting built that it's continuing to fit the rules.
Exactly, that's totally correct.
Okay, so you don't have to pull it back down again. Do you love trying to dance between the interface of design and the rule, like what the client's trying to achieve in the rules, or do you get fed up constantly?
Look, I think you have to enjoy what you do, and we do that. So it's a matter of just setting each of the different players up for success, encourage them to know their knowledge base well and getting the designers to get the right documentation right, to get the buildability right so the builders can actually build what they've got to do, and then making sure that they deliver in terms of meeting the expectation for the mum and dad at the end.
So nothing's more fun for builders than flapping your architect's plans back in your face and going, don't know what they were thinking. Are they letting themselves off the hook to not try difficult things sometimes, or is there really a gap between architects' knowledge of building and trying to get stuff done on the ground that you see?
Well, buildability is an important issue, and getting a level of documentation so the builder can actually do their job is a reality of something that we have to always continually improve. But the backstop is the designer's actually prepared what they need to be built, and that's what the builder needs to build too. Otherwise, we get amended plans and we actually regroup on a way to do something.
Because I've just always wondered that. It's one of the classic kind of building site experiences, isn't it? Do you think that architects get enough training and experience in the materials that they often design with, or do you think they don't learn them properly enough?
Look, that's a really good question, Rick. We find architects are, like all of us in the industry, we're all learning, and there's new products coming out, there's new building practices or new benchmarks being introduced with the Building Code of Australia. And we find our role as sometimes more of a secondary one as an educator, trying to help people get up to that right level of expertise, and then getting the builders to help work that through so they can build the project successfully.
It's 5:45. Lee Tyers is a building surveyor, Lee Tyers Building Surveyors, and that's a business you set up, Lee, because you saw a bit of a gap in the market.
Yes, we did. I've been in this year for just over 25 years now. We've had our own practice going for just over 16 years, and we've enjoyed being in the industry. Over time, we've slowly progressed up a team to work with me with residential, commercial builders, and just trying to, make a success story out there, actually helping people along the way.
How's COVID affected you guys?
Look, it has an impact, but I think we're fairly lucky in Tasmania compared to some of our counterparts in different states. I feel sorry for the guys in Victoria in particular. It could have been anywhere around Australia. The situations happen like that. But we'll quite benefit lucky in Tasmania. We had strong workloads already coming into the end of last year that carried forward into the start of 2020. We've had a residential market that contracted slightly in terms of the COVID reaction to that. We found our commercial projects were fairly steady, but we're looking forward to the future as well. With the government grants and stimulus that's coming through, we're tipping some growth coming, particularly this side of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of the feedback we're getting from our regular people we work with, like builders and designers. So we're optimistic and sort of, looking forward to what's around the corner.
So for you, who makes money navigating regulation, when we had 29 planning schemes with 29 different councils, I mean, that's good business for you. Do you think that with the changes that have been made, they've got to a place that's better, or is it still a bit messy? Because I found that bedazzling over the last sort of 10 years following that.
Yeah, look, we building surveyors don't actually get right into the game of town planning, so we're a bit removed, but we're still associated with it. I think having a statewide planning scheme ultimately will be a better outcome, but there's still quite a bit of water to go under the bridge till we get there. We've still got a lot of work to do.
Where do you think there are regulations standing in the way of people getting stuff done? Because obviously without regulations you get badly built houses, and Tasmania's certainly got plenty of them.
Look, we're seeing the industry, particularly here in Tassie, are quite buoyant at the moment. And as I said earlier, it's going to get potentially more intense leading up to Christmas. So through our eyes, we try to identify areas that might bottleneck, that sort of choke the way we need to get throughput of work in the industry. There's two areas I can think of in particular. One's potentially our low-level plumbing approval processes where we... the mum and dad or the builder or the architect really don't have choice. They really have to go through the local government arena, and that can sometimes be resourced well and sometimes it's not in terms of throughput of work. So that can be a pinch point and a bottleneck.
Is that like putting in a new shower or something?
Yes, or even just a straightforward house in a new build, residential, standard home in a residential subdivision that's already got all the services at the allotment boundary where things are reasonably straightforward. There should be an alternative way to actually help with the plumbing approval processes in that sort of situation. And then there's the low-level planning approval processes like you referenced to before. If we could have areas where we can actually have building designers and architects actually be competent in those individual smaller straightforward planning scheme processes, they should have expertise to be able to help navigate that through as the design team and pass that through, rather than get locked down into local government. That I've heard stories where sometimes it can be up to 4 weeks or so for someone to get back and say, well, no planning permits are required on this application, and it's a frustration of getting throughput of work.
Yeah, that's ironic. If it's simplified so you don't need permits, but it takes 4 weeks to find that out. So is that just staffing at councils, do you think?
That's correct. It's not all negative, but there is areas I think we can improve. So there is choice to the consumer to have different ways of actually being able to get their approvals through.
In your 20 years, what are some of the projects that have most satisfied you?
Look, I've had the pleasure of being on a few projects that really enjoying what I've done. I've enjoyed the Blundstone Arena redevelopment. That was a fairly iconic project on the Eastern Shore. The Tasmanian Museum Art Gallery in Hobart was probably one of my highlights. It's a heritage building, had complexities with maintaining that heritage fabric, had equal access issues in terms of how do you deal with contemporary equal access issues on heritage building fabric and still try and please everyone. Fire source feature issues and fire engineering complications of integrating between the two and being able to bring some of those lovely old buildings back to life that could be used by the general public that's quite safe. That's probably one of my highlight projects.
Treasury building, what should that be, do you reckon?
Sorry, say that again, Rick.
The Treasury building, there's been a lot of discussion. Do you think like a hotel, would it be a great gallery? What's the best way to make those old buildings work for us well?
Yeah, look, it takes a bit of research to find out what the market really needs or wants. I have a passion for heritage buildings, so I think if they can be recycled and have a better life and continue on, that's a great outcome. Look, a hotel or something like that, I think is an appropriate development of such a building like that.
Interesting. Lovely to talk to you, Lee.
No problem at all. Thank you very much, Rick.
Lee Tyers, building surveyor. This is Tradie Tuesday, so if there's any field of the trade